Everyone likes an underdog. For example, here's a picture of Jack the Jobber. Look at this picture. No, I mean really look. Stare long and hard at this picture of Jack the Jobber and think about how much you like him. You like him, don't you? Because he's an underdog, isn't he? Things are harder for Jack than they are for other people, and you like him. Again, look at this picture of Jack the Jobber and feel affection. Some of the greatest wrestling stories ever told have involved underdogs. The wrestlers in WWE are frequently bigger than the average bear, and the survival of some of the smaller, more normal-sized members of the human race in their battles with these behemoths have created some of the most emotionally rewarding and glorious moments in the history of wrestling. Just like when Jack the Jobber successfully manages to cook dinner without setting fire to his hat. It's a heartwarming tale of triumph over obvious adversity. I'm Adam Pachisi from Cultaholic.com, and here are the top 10 greatest underdogs in WWE history. Join us. Number 10. Crash Holly. Jerry Lawler used to refer to him as Elroy because of his similar in stature to Elroy Jetson. That is a deep and relevant burn, King, hats off. But Crash Holly was fantastic. It's an absolute testament to his inherent ability to survive that he's regarded as perhaps the greatest hardcore champion of all time. Yes, a guy this size was the most successful deathmatch champion in WWE history. That's really nice. Crash had several moments of underdog triumph in his wrestling career, unseating William Regal to win the European Championship, somehow managing to defeat Test in the 2000 King of the Ring tournament, and of course the numerous skits and segments where he'd be attacked by multiple wrestlers gunning for his hardcore title, only for him to somehow manage to scamper away with his title reign intact. Number 9. Barry Horowitz. All jobbers are underdogs. Their entire purpose is to look haplessly outmatched, providing their opponents with a brutal display of dominance. They're most often used to build up the credibility of heels because not only are they the underdogs, but their underdog story comes to an unfortunate end. We root for the victimized to overcome the bigger, more muscly threat, and when they don't, that makes the heel look all the meaner for it. Boo! Boo on you, Braun Strowman, for treating James like that. However, one jobber that actually managed to do the impossible was Barry Horowitz, the exquisitely permed jobber who once gutted it out and sneaked a win against Chris Candido, aka Skip of the Body Donners. The win was so unexpected that Horowitz briefly became a hero of the people, even managing to repeat his victory over Skip at SummerSlam 1995. Number 8. The 1-2-3 Kid. When talking about the fluke wins of an underdog jobber becoming a major news story, none are more iconic than when a tiny wrestler known then only as The Kid pinned Razor Ramon on Raw. The shocking subversion of the jobber squash match formula is commonly cited as one of the most treasured moments in Raw history. That's how huge an impact it had. The win changed the career of The Kid, with him being rechristened as the 1-2-3 Kid because of that unlikely but glorious pinfall. From that point on, he was made in the fans' eyes and became one of the most popular underdogs on TV until they turned him heel for some reason. He had numerous great matches with Razor Ramon, which cemented his position as part of the infamous backstage power group The Clique, and his high-flying athleticism made him a fixture of WWE's undercard. Eventually, he morphed into X-Pac, a key member of DX and one of the most underrated heels in WWE history. Number 7. Zack Ryder. Don't let the fact that WWE refused to capitalize on his popularity fool you. In 2011, Zack Ryder was over like Rover. In fact, his Ryder Revolution was the prototype for the Yes movement, with Long Island IZ creating a new meta form of underdog in the fans' eyes. Not only was he an underdog in front of the camera, but for the first time he was understood to be an underdog behind the scenes, cruelly underutilized by the company despite his charisma, which hardcore fans came to know via his weekly YouTube show Z True Long Island Story. The crowd got behind him in a big way, chanting "We want Ryder" whenever he wasn't booked on the show, culminating with a long feud against Dolph Ziggler, which ended with Ryder finally capturing the gold at TLC. He was a pioneer of a new type of push, one engineered by fans, forcing WWE to acknowledge their beloved underdog. Number 6. Sami Zayn. I mean, his nickname is literally the underdog from the underground, and before he turned heel at Hell in a Cell last year, Sami Zayn was the quintessential blueprint for the wrestling hero. He was endearing, principled, tried his hardest against impossible Braun Strowman-shaped odds, and frequently lost. Over the course of many months, Sami would come up short against Cesaro and his quest to become NXT champion. Many believe that Sami was his own worst enemy, a lack of, quote, killer instinct becoming a common attribute of a great underdog. When he finally disposed Neville at NXT TakeOver R Evolution and became NXT champ, the tears were real. So invested were the fans in the underdog from the underground, finally winning the big one. Number 5, Eddie Guerrero. Again, Eddie's status as an underdog came from his relatively short stature in the land of the giants that is mainstream wrestling. Sure, Eddie eventually bulked up when it came time for his main event run, his increased mass playing a tragic part in his premature passing, but he came from cruiserweight stock, and in the minds of WWE creative, that stigma never really left him. When it finally came time for him to ascend the mountaintop and beat Brock Lesnar for the WWE title, he was positioned by the storyline as being too small, too much of a loser, too incapable of winning when it counts. In fact, Eddie's underdog status provided him with one of the greatest characters in wrestling, when he started compensating for his slightly smaller frame with an excess of cunning, using smarts to lie, cheat, and steal. Number 4, Jeff Hardy. During the Attitude Era, in your wildest dreams, would you ever have believed that Jeff Hardy would someday become WWE Champion? If you replied yes to that question, congratulations, you are a fully qualified liar. Part of Jeff Hardy's appeal to the fans was that he wasn't regarded as tough enough to stand grapple for grapple with the big dogs of the dub, forcing him to throw care and whispers to the wind, putting his own body in ludicrous physical danger in order to win. He was a risk taker because he had to be, and there's something deeply noble in that. His underdog status was confirmed during his fantastic ladder match on Raw against The Undertaker, one of Raw's greatest bouts. Undertaker physically abused Hardy, but the unique Enigma used a heady combination of smarts and doing horrible things to his body to hang out with one of the biggest main eventers on the roster. When Taker raised Hardy's hand after the match in an almost baffled gesture of respect, Jeff Hardy became one of the greatest underdogs in WWE history, a gimmick that would eventually lead him to the world title. Number 3, Rey Mysterio. Look at the size of him though. You could basically summarize WWE creators' treatment of Rey Mysterio's whole career with that one sentence. Look at the size of him. He's so small. How does he keep winning? But win Rey Mysterio did, ending his WWE run with 2 iconic World Heavyweight title reigns and even one minuscule run as WWE Champion. It's in the record books, it counts. Rey has been an underdog ever since his first pay-per-view match against Kurt Angle, and he's parlayed that story into becoming a hero to millions. Seriously, even if you're not the biggest fan of Mysterio, talk to a child, literally any child fan of WWE, he is their superhero. And that's important. Also, his performance in the 2006 Royal Rumble is one of the most physically impressive in the history of the event, lasting an unbelievable 62 minutes, a record that stands to this day. Number 2, Daniel Bryan. Find me someone that doesn't love Daniel Bryan and, well, I don't know how to tell you this, but you've just found a dead body. When you talk about heroes triumphing against adversity, few journeys to WWE's mountaintop were as wonderful and emotional as Daniel Bryan's. Like Zack Ryder before him, Bryan was seen by the fans as an in-ring underdog owing to his 5'10" frame, which is still average height for a man, don't forget that, just because I'm tall enough to be medically qualified as a freak, but Daniel Bryan was also an underdog in terms of how WWE head office viewed him. Backstage reports corroborated that, despite his staunch popularity with the fans, Bryan was still seen as a B+ player, and it took a full-on crowd movement to force the underutilized Bryan to the main event of WrestleMania 30. I cried when he won that match. I have absolutely zero shame in admitting that. Number 1, Mick Foley. In part, I've put Mick Foley at the top of this list because he's my favorite wrestler of all time, and if you don't like that, then I don't like you, and you can personally kiss my angry balls. Mick Foley was no one's idea of what a WWE champion looked like, least of all Vince McMahon, who still has a poster of Lex Luger on the ceiling of his bedroom. Mick Foley was an average schmo, a little heavy, a little unkempt, and for that reason it was inconceivable that Mrs. Foley's baby boy would ever win the gold. It was so inconceivable that when Eric Bischoff spoiled on Nitro that Foley would be winning the title on Raw, they sarcastically said, "That'll put butts in seats." He didn't know it, but he was absolutely right. So beloved was the perennial underdog that the fans changed the channel in droves to watch wrestling's greatest schlub become WWE champion. Beautiful. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments below. You can follow me on Twitter here. If you like what we do, you can pledge to us on Patreon at patreon.com/cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, bro, and join us.